Hello, everybody. Welcome to All Things College and Career. We're so excited to have Sarah Alexandre on as our guest today. She is a U.S. Naval helicopter pilot and assurance quality officer. We're super proud of Sarah and all of her accomplishments. And for anybody interested in going to the Naval Academy, you'll definitely enjoy this episode.
Yeah, definitely. She shares all kinds of details about how to get into the Naval Academy and what it was like, and also what it's like to be a helicopter pilot. And also, we just want to let you know that she does live on a base, so you're going to hear the jets and helicopters in the background. Nothing she could do about that, and adds a little bit to the ambiance.
Absolutely. So without further ado, let's just get on to our interview with Sarah.
Okay, let's do it.
Hello, Sarah Alexandre. Welcome to All Things College and Career. Thanks so much for doing our podcast today.
Thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hello, Sarah. Hey, you are a San Diego girl right now, at least, right?
And, yes, currently in San Diego.
Yeah. We were in basically La Jolla for a while, so very fond of that area, and came really close to getting a place in Coronado there.
Oh my goodness, I love Coronado.
But I love Coronado, and one of my favorite things to do is go out to eat at like POEs or something and watch all the boats and the Navy ships come up and down.
Honestly, even being in the Navy, I still do that sometimes. I'll just sit outside and just kind of watch all the ships go by.
It's just such an awesome thing to do. I absolutely love it. But anyways, so glad to have you on the podcast today. So, hey, let's get right into it. Right. We'd like to start by asking our guests 3 things that they love about their career or their job. So you as a Navy helicopter pilot and quality insurance officer, would you share with us 3 things you love about your job?
Yeah, definitely. So I would say the first thing or one thing I love about my job would be the adventure. I've been in so many crazy situations and crazy places and getting to visit a ton of different countries with the Navy that I honestly wouldn't be able to have visited or done otherwise. And that's awesome.
Yeah. I bet.
I do love the challenge of it. We're constantly getting tested on our tactics, qualifications, or even just going out and doing an actual mission. You find yourself in really challenging situations. And it's always interesting to see how much you learn about yourself when you come out the other side.
Sure.
I bet. Wow. I can't even imagine.
But I think the thing I love the most about this job is definitely the people. I still talk to my college girlfriends almost every day. And now being in my squadron, it just feels like a giant team. And going to work every day, that's definitely what energizes me, is going to work and getting to work with all these awesome people.
That's awesome.
What a great and an inspirational answer. It's wonderful to hear.
Absolutely. But it reminds me of honestly, a lot of the commercials, adventure, challenge.
Yeah.
That's funny, actually.
Totally. That's so true.
But it makes sense. I mean, obviously they're not lying when they put those commercials
No, I mean, it's so true. I feel like the people totally make this job what it is.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So, Sarah, if you don't mind, I'd like to just go back a bit in time to just ask you how this all began and where it all began and what inspired you to join the Navy. Talking a bit about your high school years, I'm pretty sure I'm correct that you were valedictorian of your class, and correct me if I'm wrong, and definitely a standout athlete, captain of all the sports you were on, I believe, primarily soccer and lacrosse, but I think you dabbled in basketball and swim too, if I remember correctly. But I was just curious, when did you first consider trying to get into the Naval Academy? I mean, that's such a reach and such a big goal.
Yeah. So I think I don't even know how long I knew I wanted to be a Navy pilot. It wasn't something I really mentioned to anyone growing up because we didn't come from a very military heavy area. But it just seemed like I knew growing up, I used to watch the History Channel religiously with my dad, and I just kind of knew that might sound kind of nerdy, but
I love that.
I
love the History Channel.
It's so good.
So if you're a nerd, I'm a nerd.
I just knew it seemed again like an adventure. I knew I wanted to give back and serve my country, and just all those things together. It it just really inspired me. And I think I've always just had a natural inclination towards everything flying. I mean, I'm probably one of the few people who likes going to the airport to travel. So I think I can't really picture myself doing anything else besides flying.
Right.
But
Yeah.
As far as the Naval Academy, though, this is kind of a funny story, but so I didn't actually know about the Naval Academy growing up. It wasn't something that was heavily pushed. And so I actually found it because I was looking for how could I become a Navy pilot. And I just Googled military college, and that was the first link that popped up.
Yeah. There you go.
That was in 8th grade.
Oh my gosh.
I get that. I didn't know about it either at that age, for sure. And you're right. In this area, nobody that you probably knew went there when you were in 8th grade.
Yeah.
So when you Googled it, did it also say how difficult it was to get in? Or
Yeah, right.
So it did seem like it was pretty challenging. I think luckily when I did finally make the decision that I wanted to pursue it, I had an awesome guidance counselor, Steve Turgeon, who really just walked me through the whole thing. And he came over to my house a couple times that summer just to help me with my application because he knew how much I wanted it. And that was awesome.
That is commitment right there.
It was definitely some commitment from a public school guidance counselor to just...
Absolutely. Shout out to Steve Turgeon.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we know how, as you just said, public school guidance counselors, we've talked about this several times on the show, they're overwhelmed with...
Yeah, they have
definitely.
Such a large caseload. And a lot of their responsibilities today are handling crisis issues. So to really focus on helping a student like you, that sometimes gets lost in the shuffle. So that's really a great story.
Yeah.
I felt very lucky. I mean, my parents were always super supportive of it, but it was also just having that resource who had seen an application process like this was definitely invaluable to applying.
That's awesome.
Oh, absolutely. So what were some of the things that you had to get together for this application?
So the application process was more complicated than I was expecting. I will say that much. I did review it before I called in today just to make sure nothing has changed. So I'm not leading people astray.
Setting up. This is why she's at the Naval Academy, or was, folks.
Yeah, and valedictorian of her class.
Right.
So, I don't think it doesn't look like much has changed. So yeah, you kind of just need to do a preliminary application and just make sure kind of the basics are in. And then it did feel like at least part of it was just a normal college application with essays and test scores. I had to take the SATs and send in my transcript. I did also, you have to do, it's called a CFA, a candidate fitness assessment. And somebody has to come and watch you do, I guess, like a physical test, I guess, of your athleticism.
Well, that must have been the easiest part of the application process for you.
They definitely have some challenging, I think you had to throw a basketball, or I don't know, I'm not great at throwing, so it's like, this is difficult, but
yeah.
What about like pull-ups and push-ups, anything like that? Or
so you do have to do pull-ups. I think women can still do the flexed arm hang, but I really wanted to do pull-ups because I thought it would make my application look better.
Yeah, right.
My lacrosse coach and I we went into the gym every day after school until I could do a pull-up. It probably took us a month.
Wow.
Pull-ups are hard for women.
They are tricky. Getting that first pull-up down was such an accomplishment.
Totally.
Like, yes.
And that was nice of the lacrosse coach also to help work on, special attention there. This is all at a public school, so that's...
Honestly, I feel like I had such a team of people just working to get me into this school. I don't think I could have done it without like a team of people helping with my application.
Wow, that's true of a lot of successful people. They don't get where they are on their own, and it's awesome that you appreciate all the help you had.
That is the difference, actually acknowledging that you had help to get you there.
Right.
I have no shame in admitting that it was definitely a team effort.
Oh, that's okay. It's all right. We all need help, and no matter what.
For sure.
So there was other stuff you had to do. You have to interview with what's called a blue and gold officer. And so there's Naval Academy graduates scattered throughout the country, and you'll meet up with them at a coffee shop or just out in town. And that's kind of your admissions interview you would normally do with an admissions counselor.
Right.
So that was interesting, just to also kind of hear the perspective from somebody who did grow up in Maine, from a smaller town, and kind of the mentality shift into going to the Naval Academy. So it was interesting on both sides, I think, getting to know me, but it was also interesting hearing his perspective.
Definitely.
Yeah, I bet. I bet.
Mutually
I bet that
beneficial.
was really informative.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they have a program called Summer Seminar that I went to the summer before my senior year. And you go for a week, you kind of get to experience what life would be like there and get an idea of some of the educational opportunities and kind of just live the lifestyle for a week. And I really just fell in love with the town, especially while I was there, and just the campus.
And that's Annapolis, right? Obviously.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know all of the service academies, I believe, do a similar program, but I went to the one at the Naval Academy, and I also went to the one at the Air Force Academy.
Oh, okay.
But I just kind of fell in love with the Naval Academy.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. So you were deciding between Navy and Air Force at that time.
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
And just curious, was that a required week, Sarah, or was that just optional, something you wanted to really try out before you committed?
I think it's definitely not a requirement. It is encouraged to go. They want to know when you're applying that you have thought through everything and that you really are aware of what you're getting into.
Shown real commitment and interest, basically.
Right. So they do. It is looked favorably, I believe, on your application. And I think personally it's just kind of an invaluable experience. But I know it's not a requirement because, of course, you have a ton of people who aren't able to make it for some reason, or there were people that didn't get into summer seminar because that's also an application process for that. But then they end up getting into the school the following year. So there's a lot that goes into it, but I would definitely recommend something like that if someone's considering it.
Well, that's a good tip.
Right, it can't hurt, right?
Definitely can't hurt, that's for sure.
Right, absolutely.
So were there any more steps beyond that?
I don't think
Did you have to get any recommendation from a U.S. senator or congressperson?
Oh, you are correct. I did have to get
Yeah, I was just curious. So that is another step in the process. Yeah.
I don't know how I missed that one. That is a big step.
That is a big one. Yeah.
So that was an interesting day. So you have to go to get the recommendation. You go to, I believe I went up to Augusta. Honestly, I think I went up to Augusta for this. But you go and actually go to their offices, and there's a panel of people. You can interview with your own congressman and then both senators. And you have a panel of people on each one that ultimately decides who gets the nomination.
Wow.
So you have a limited amount that they can give.
Oh, that does sound pretty stressful. Yeah.
Wow. So that was definitely probably the most stressful part maybe that's why I blocked it out.
Yeah, right.
That's right.
No, that's
self-preservation.
Right, survival.
Right. Gosh.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So how long did you have to wait to find out if you were going to be recommended?
So it's a rolling admissions process. So I had received a letter from the school. I got my application in the summer, knowing that it was rolling admissions. So I had received a letter from the school. It's called a letter of assurance that just says your application is good to go pending your nomination.
Oh.
So then it kind of adds a little bit more pressure to the nomination piece of it.
Totally. Yeah.
But I ended up finding out, I think, a couple days before Thanksgiving. So I was kind of throwing everything into going to the Naval Academy. So I hadn't really applied to any other schools yet. And so Thanksgiving was my cutoff. If I hadn't heard anything back by Thanksgiving, I was going to send in my other applications.
Right.
And I ended up hearing back, I think it was the week before or a couple days before Thanksgiving. So that was a
huge relief.
A huge relief for that holiday.
Yeah, for sure. You must have been so happy.
And saved you from all that extra work of filling out all those.
Exactly. Well, it's expensive too. College applications are expensive.
Super
so it's kind of, just kind of trying to limit that.
Right. Absolutely. So, okay, so you get into the Naval Academy. Now we'd love to learn about what it was like there. So maybe just start talking about your plebe year, because everybody...
Okay. So
I want to tell an interesting story. I ran into your mom once, and people were so concerned about how you would handle it, but your mom seemed confident that you would be just fine because you were just that kind of a person that we knew you could handle it.
Well, I will tell a funny story then, because I think I must have been a little nervous about starting, because when I was packing for the first day, I realized, because we start Plebe Year, you start with Plebe Summer, and that's just when we call freshman plebes. And so all the freshmen go for that summer, and it's kind of your introduction to the school. It's just very rigid. And I had shown up that morning, we were at the hotel, and I realized when I was getting dressed that I had brought 2 right sneakers instead of a right and a left sneaker. And I was like, oh my goodness, how did I do that? So,
oh my gosh.
So I was a little bit nervous. So then, of course, I'm that kid that gets a package from their mom the first week that has a shoe in it. So I was definitely a little nervous, I think. But
for sure. Who wouldn't be? Yeah.
It's a rough awakening to the school for sure. But
yeah.
Well, just give us an example of what it might be like.
So it's very regimented. You wake up every morning before sunrise. The whole class goes out to the field and does the morning workout. Then after that, everyone eats breakfast together.
What's a morning workout look like? Is it?
So you have everybody lined up on a big field, and it's just a ton of calisthenics. It's essentially, Plebe Summer is the Naval Academy's version of boot camp, essentially. So it's what you would picture. It's just run by the senior class at the school and the faculty and stuff. So yeah, it is. Looking back on it, I think it's kind of funny when you see everybody lined up on the field in their uniforms and everybody equally spaced out doing push-ups and then running laps around the field.
Yeah.
Everyone's yelling motivation. So
right. So that's early, first thing in the morning. Yep.
And then we all eat breakfast together. And we do that throughout the school year as well. They break us up into companies, and then within your company you have your squadron, which is about 10 people, and that's who you eat with every day.
Do they mix male and female, or are you separated?
Yeah. So everybody is mixed in. Same with the dorms too. There's only one dorm, so everybody's just mixed in. Yeah. And then during the day you do a whole slew of things. It would be some seminars on stuff, or just we had a lot of stuff we would have to memorize. There's for my fellow alum, I don't want to give too much away, but this fun thing we call gray space. Gray space is the area on the schedule that isn't scheduled. And so that's when your seniors just get to teach you about the school, I'll say.
That was very politically correct. Well, I have to say, I have 2 friends that went to West Point. And I remember, I've heard some stories from there, but one thing, like when you said memorize things, I remember one of my friends, he had to memorize the definition of leather. I mean, it's just so
I believe
inane,
that.
Right? And you had to memorize the definition of leather? Is that what you said?
No, she said.
Oh no, I believe
you
that
believe
he did.
that. Yeah. And right, so but no, it wasn't like one sentence definition. It was like this ridiculously long, like I don't know,
gosh, like a Wikipedia entry. Oh my gosh.
And I thought, but that's just something they just have you do because they can.
Yeah, you have to memorize so much stuff. It's kind of funny looking back on it. I think we had to memorize the Invictus poem, Man in the Arena, all the laws of the Navy. So it was,
wow.
I have fond memories looking back on it, but going through it, you're like, what am I doing?
Is Invictus the captain of my soul? Is that
the master.
Yes. The master of my soul.
My dad used to recite that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Oh, wow.
Can you recite it now?
I don't think I can recite it now, no.
Yeah, it's a good one, though.
It is a good one.
We do have the Man in the Arena quote by Teddy Roosevelt hung up in our squadron, though. I would have to look it up right now because I don't want to butcher it.
That's all right. You go ahead and Google it. And
just
say it. We'll edit all this out.
Yeah. Okay. It's pretty long.
We'll make it look like you had it in your head.
Okay. Perfect. All right, so here it is. So the man in the arena. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again. Because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deed, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his face shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat.
Wow.
I love that. And I have heard that before now that you've said it, but
that
so
was
true.
really
Great
good.
words.
Is that Teddy Roosevelt you said?
Yeah.
It is. And it's hung up in our squadron now, and I read it sometimes when I walk by in the hallway because I think it's very inspirational. Like,
Totally.
at least you tried. You can fail, but at least you tried.
Well, that's what it is. You're in the arena. You're doing your best. You might fail. Yeah, I love it. So thanks for sharing that. That was awesome.
Yeah, that
Sarah.
was definitely. So anyway, at Annapolis, you majored in chemistry, I believe. Was that your undergrad major?
I did.
Yes. So at what point do you start to specialize is it after you graduate that you sought after becoming a helicopter pilot, or how does that whole process work or look?
Right. So we pick our majors after freshman year. And then they tell you it doesn't really matter too much what you major in because you can still, we call it service select. You can still service select whatever you want. I just knew I was interested in chemistry. Looking back on it, I don't know that it was the easiest path. But it was interesting. It was definitely interesting, but it doesn't really have anything to do with becoming a pilot. So then you have your major for sophomore, junior, senior year, and then going into your senior year, you put in career preferences.
Okay.
And you can choose, or you kind of rank Marine ground, Marine air, Navy air, surface warfare, which is ships, submarines, medical corps, and then you can select to go special forces with the SEALs or EOD, which is our explosive ordnance disposal. I don't think I'm missing any there. Or we also have restricted line options, but those are pretty limited. So that would be supply corps or intelligence. That's probably less than 10 people from each class of about 1,000 that go into the restricted line. Don't quote me on the numbers, but it's not huge. Same with medical. There's a limited number of spots that they send to medical. That's around 10 every year.
So that would be like becoming a physician, basically, medical school.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they go straight into medical school from the Naval Academy.
Okay.
They just also, they have to get into medical school too. So that's kind of on their own. Just because they selected out of the Naval Academy doesn't mean they will continue with that. They can still not get into medical school and then go do something else.
They still have to do the MCAT and get, do all the testing and get the grades. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So you chose helicopter pilot training
So it's pretty generic at first. You just choose pilot.
Oh, okay.
So once you put in all your preferences and then around Thanksgiving of your senior year, everybody in your company will get together in what we call the wardroom. Which is our hangout space.
Right.
And one by one, your company officer, who's usually a lieutenant, will go through everybody and you find out in front of all your close friends that you've gone through the last 4 years with. And everybody, it's cool because all the freshmen, the sophomores, and the juniors are all waiting outside the wardroom to congratulate everybody.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is. Did you get your top choice, Sarah? Or?
I did. So luckily, I did get my top choice of pilot.
Is that common, or do a lot of people not get their top?
Yeah, I think it's pretty common. I think where you see it kind of not happen is one I didn't mention was NFO, which is Naval Flight Officer, which is kind of the people who are in the planes, but they're not flying the plane. Because we have a lot of electronic equipment that has to get run as well.
Right.
Occasionally, you'll see that go back and forth with if they put NFO first, they get pilot, or put pilot first, get NFO. But I think most people get their first or second choice.
Wow, that's good.
What was your second, just out of curiosity? Had you not got pilot? Is it the NFO or was it?
No, I think my second choice was actually Nuke SWO. So if I hadn't gone pilot, I was hoping to get into the surface warfare nuclear program. But I think that was just mostly stemmed from my interest in chemistry.
I was going to say that you would have used that degree for that.
But I definitely, I was very happy to get pilot.
Of course, yeah, it's your first choice. Yeah.
I bet. What would you say was the toughest part of the Naval Academy?
Okay. The toughest part of the Naval Academy, I think, was just balancing everything and learning how to manage your time. Because it's very structured. And so you wake up in the morning. Plebe Year, usually you still have morning workouts. But then the other 3 years, you just wake up, you go to formation in the morning where they muster everybody, and then you go to breakfast with everyone. Then you go straight to class. You usually have 4 class periods in the morning. So it was almost felt a little bit like high school in that you still had class periods.
Right.
And then you come back, you have lunch, and then there's 2 more class periods. Chemistry is one of the weird majors that, because of our lab schedule, we had 3 periods in the afternoon. And then you'd go into what we call sports period, which you either go play an intramural, or that's when the varsity athletes would practice. Sometimes we would have what we call parade practice, where everybody lined up on the parade field. Then you have a few hours in the evening to do your homework. You end up staying up pretty late, like most college students, just trying to pack everything in.
Right.
Yeah,
but maybe most college students don't have to get up quite so early. I don't know.
Yeah, before sunrise and work out. Right.
Yeah, well, I think it's a little bit of a balance of trying to get all of your homework done, but also managing your sleep too, because you don't want to be sleep deprived.
And you're still at the age where you need a ton of sleep. I mean, you're still an 18, 19-year-old. And
I think most people just try to find time in their day to kind of start working on their homework. Yeah. Like after lunch, you have 40 minutes, so let's get as much as we can done here.
Right. Squeeze it in. And did you happen to do any sports while you were there, Sarah? Or?
I didn't.
Okay.
I was an intramural warrior.
Oh, so. Yeah. That sounds like fun.
Intramurals are great. All the fun without the stress.
All the fun without the stress. It's fun too, because you play company versus company. So
fun.
It's a good time.
That's great. Yeah. Did you try anything different, or did you stick to your...
So I usually played intramural soccer, but honestly, I think my biggest sport was chem lab, which I joke because I'm kind of a nerd, but that took up most of my sports period. So.
Oh, yeah, right. In the lab.
So then I would just go to the gym after and lift or go for a run or something.
Definitely.
So do you have advice for any student that might want to apply there, and what type of student would fit in best at the Naval Academy?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people maybe don't apply because they don't think they could do it, or they don't think they're smart enough. But I think you'd be surprised about the diversity that there is at the Naval Academy. You get really a ton of different types of people who are strong in different areas. Some are very athletic, some are got in because of their grades. But it's really just, I think anybody can honestly get through it if they put their mind to it. Especially, it is a very team-centric school. So people don't want you to fail there. And so it's really, if you want to go there, I would say just try it. See if it's for you. Your first 2 years, you can go and leave anytime during your first 2 years and incur no obligation.
Oh, really?
So it's worth, if you think you want to do it, I think people would regret not doing it.
Right.
Because the obligation is when you graduate, you owe the military at least 4 years. Is that right? Or
so going into, once you start your first day of your junior year, you have to sign a piece of paper. It's called 2 for 7s. You do 2 more years of school. You owe 7, but it's you owe 5, and then I think the 2 for 7s includes some reserve time, but you owe 5 years once you graduate. But if you keep going for your junior and senior year, it varies, but I know you do incur some sort of an obligation to either pay back the school or enlist if you do decide to drop out after that.
Just a quick note here. After the podcast, Sarah contacted us and asked us to include that graduates of the Naval Academy incur a 5-year obligation, but pilots actually owe 8 years following the completion of flight school. We really appreciate Sarah reaching out to us with that correction. And now back to our conversation. Okay. Right. Well, that's great. I didn't know about the freshman, sophomore, no obligation. Yeah. Come and try it and see if it's for you. Yeah. That's really great.
I would also say too, when you're there, for students who go there, just take advantage of every opportunity, because I just feel like I had the most crazy opportunities that I didn't think I would ever have coming from a small town.
Right. Yeah.
And
you're going to have to share one.
Yeah. I was
oh, goodness. Okay. So I did do a semester at the Air Force Academy.
That's cool.
Which was interesting to get a different perspective.
Definitely.
And then I was able to study abroad for about a month and a half in Muscat, Oman, studying Arabic.
Wow.
But then it's just like being involved with and there's other summer programs too. We do summer training, so you can go to a ship or go to a submarine. I had spent a couple weeks on a submarine after my freshman year, which was an interesting, eye-opening experience. But I think just being involved with the language program too, we would go visit embassies, and since we were so close to DC, and you get to interact with some of the ambassadors and some of the military attachés that they have. And it's just like whatever you're interested in. I had a friend who went and trained dolphins one summer. So
wow.
Yeah.
It's really like whatever your interest is, there is an opportunity for it there if you just seek it out. And it's totally worth just diving in and kind of
that's
dipping your fingers into everything.
It sounds like you took a pretty good advantage and really did try a bunch of things out. That's so awesome.
Yeah, and those are great tips because I think people's perception is that it's very structured. I mean, I know it is on one hand, but on the other hand, there is a lot of opportunity and flexibility in there, it sounds like, where people, I think their first mind is like, you go there, it's very structured and no options, so.
Yeah, it's very much a choose your own adventure. Mm-hmm. Even though it is structured, there is a lot of wiggle room for that choose your own adventure.
That's great.
That is. So Sarah, can you tell us about your current work right now and what a typical day is like for you? You're a quality assurance officer and a Navy helicopter pilot. So I don't know, maybe you could share some of like your most adventurous things that you've done, or or maybe the biggest challenges that you've encountered.
So I don't know that I have a typical day at work.
Oh yeah,
to be honest, and I think that's part of
that's good.
I think that's part of what I love about this job, though. So the officers in our squadron, almost all of them are pilots. We have a few that are just ground officers, and they usually work in maintenance, fire maintainers. So quality assurance officer, just finished that actually, because I'm supposed to be moving soon to Florida.
Oh, really?
But so we are pilot, and then we also have our ground job.
Okay.
So your ground job can change between, I worked in operations for a little bit, and then I worked for a little over a year as the quality assurance officer. But it is, I don't know that I just really don't know that I have a standard day. I usually fly 2 to 3 times a week. So before your flight, you usually come in, you brief, you have a few hours to prepare for your brief. Sometimes it's a tactical scenario. Sometimes it's just normal pilot proficiency flights. And then the rest of your day or the rest of your week, you're working on your ground job. So most of the first tour pilots are what we call division officers. You have a certain number of sailors that work directly for you, and you're kind of in charge of those day-to-day activities. Mm-hmm. So the past year I've been working in quality assurance, which has been interesting, and I've definitely learned a lot about all the maintenance that goes on. I have a ton of respect for the people that I work with down there.
I bet.
They have taught me a lot. And then, I mean, that kind of varies too if you're deployed or if you're not deployed or if you're doing workups for deployment. You can kind of find yourself anywhere.
Have you been deployed, Sarah?
Yes. So I have deployed twice, and I've been on a bunch of what we call detachments, or where we go overland somewhere. They're training detachments. And then we've done a lot of underways that are about a month long to get ready for deployment. And then I did 2 deployments to the Western Pacific with the USS Carl Vinson, which is our aircraft carrier.
Were those challenging missions, or?
Those are challenging. So I'm trying to think of my most... The most challenging flight I think I had was I was on what we call Alert 30. So you have a 30-minute alert for the helicopters, and that's usually for search and rescue, but it can be used for other stuff. Mm-hmm. So at that time, we had a helicopter that had broken down in South Korea, and we needed to get them parts so they could come back to the ship the next day.
Right.
So they launched us, and we had probably 15 minutes to prepare to fly this flight. So we're just, because we had to take off before sunset since we were taking passengers with us.
Wow.
And it was the best example of teamwork that I think I can pull from my time at the squadron, because we're flying into South Korea. We had to fly across the whole the width of the country because we were on the eastern side. I'm not even sure how far away we were, but we were outside of visual range of the country. So, and talking to Korean ATC was definitely a bit of a language barrier.
Right. Wow.
And it was, so we were trying to navigate where we were going as we were flying there. And my aircraft commander was trying to talk to ATC, and we were just having a bit of trouble communicating.
I bet. Yeah.
And then so we flew across the country, and then we got to the airfield that we were landing at. And again, it was the first time we're all seeing this airfield. There were a ton of other military aircraft flying, and it was dark out. So just trying to figure out where exactly we were supposed to be was, it ended up being like a 7-hour mission or something. We got back around 4 a.m.
Oh my gosh.
But it was just, you kind of just have flights like that where you just like, where did I find myself? Like, what did I get myself into?
I know. Like, what
am I doing out here?
What am I doing out here?
I bet. And you have to really just dig deep and draw on everything you've learned. And
it really is.
And
like,
you have to bring your A game in that moment, right?
You study so much constantly, and we're constantly getting evaluated. And then you do flights like that, and you really just see why you're constantly getting evaluated.
Right.
Because I mean, there's countless number of flights like that where you're just like, it's just not, you couldn't have pieced it together or made it up in a story if you tried. Like,
oh my gosh.
Exactly. Yeah. And you start respecting all the training and the hours you've put in.
Yeah.
All kind of comes together. Yeah.
Well, absolutely. But so Sarah, it looks like you are in the middle of an MBA program with UNC Kenan-Flagler.
Kenan-Flagler.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kenan-Flagler. Sorry, I'm not familiar with that school. But yeah, can you just tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. So I started getting my MBA I think I started in October of this past year. Mm-hmm. And it has been definitely challenging to balance with work.
I bet.
But it's really interesting doing the program. We do it via Zoom. So it's been funny because everything that's been going on, everyone's using Zoom right now.
Yes.
But I really love the program because even though I'm doing it online, I still feel like I'm in class. The time.
Yeah.
And you still interact with everybody. I have friends that I made in the program. You still do breakout groups, study groups, group projects. And you really feel like you're in class, which has been awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
And then every quarter they have, it's called a summit, where everybody gets together in person at some location across the world to kind of meet up, network, do some seminar stuff. So unfortunately, the one I was supposed to go to was canceled due to the pandemic that's currently going on. But
sorry. Right.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll hit the next one for sure.
Disappointing. But so did you decide to get your MBA because you feel like it will help you further your career with the Navy, or is this something you just want to have on your resume, or what made you want to do this?
So if I decide to continue on with a career in the Navy, getting further education is something that is weighed heavily. Mm-hmm. But then I'm not sure. I think it's hard to say. So because I went to flight school, I owe.
Speaking of flight school, I hear planes cruising over you all the time.
Sorry.
It kind of adds ambience to what we're doing here.
That's right. But just wanted the listeners to know that's what you're hearing.
That is going on.
Sorry about that.
No, not at all.
Anytime Kenan-Flagler, my student advisor, calls me at work, they always hear a helicopter in the background. I have to run and try to find a quiet space at work that I still have cell service.
I bet.
Right. Tricky.
So getting the degree, if I decide to get out, it's that you have a little bit of the networking piece and just that education that would hopefully help me be successful.
Oh, for sure.
If I do transition out. But it's also, if you decide to stay in, getting your further on education is weighed heavily in the promotion boards.
So either way, it's going to be a plus.
Yeah, I think so. In the classes that you take, we took the leadership and management class. Mm-hmm. Right now I'm taking an operations class. And I do find that the operations pieces that I'm learning do relate heavily to the operations that I used to work in with our flight schedule, which I wish I had that information before. So I think either way, it'll be beneficial to have done the program.
I'm sure it will be. But just on a personal note, I know you've got married not too long ago. But congratulations on that. And is your husband
Thank you.
Is your husband with you, or obviously, I guess.
So not obviously, he's actually not.
Okay, yeah.
So I guess this is the one thing I would say is the toughest thing about my job is how the lack of time you have with family.
Yeah.
So it is kind of a balance, even though it's an exciting career. It's adventurous. It's fun. It's challenging. You don't get as much time with family as you would like.
Right.
So I think that's kind of why your squadron in a way becomes your second family.
I bet.
And you do get so close to the people you work with.
Right.
But he's a Coast Guard pilot. He's up in Washington State.
Okay.
So we've been long distance the past 4 years.
Wow.
It's totally doable, though. It just depends on the people.
Yeah, I think we're both pretty independent. So we've been able to make it work. We are very much looking forward to moving in together.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be in Florida right now, actually. We were supposed to move in together about a month ago. We were supposed to move in about a week after the pandemic broke out.
So that
we are currently...
Kind of put a damper on those plans. Oh, boy.
So I am in San Diego now, just waiting.
Yeah.
I think I'm here till at least June 30th, it looks like, is the most recent guidance that came out from Secretary Esper. And then we're kind of just playing it by ear. We want to make sure we're being socially conscious and doing everything correctly with this pandemic. But we are looking forward to moving once we're able to.
Well, I'm glad for you that will work out. And what part of Florida, Sarah?
So I'm going to Pensacola, Florida to be a helicopter instructor pilot.
Oh, wow. Now you're instructing, moving up in the ranks.
Yes. So I'm very excited for that.
There you go. Congratulations.
Yeah, many congrats.
Thank you.
That's awesome. But anyway, I know we need to wrap this up, so I'll turn it over to Bobby for the rapid fire.
Okay.
Oh, goodness. Okay, I forgot you do this.
Don't be nervous.
Okay.
I think you'll I think you'll ace this like you did most of your tests.
Definitely.
All right. I'm nervous.
Don't worry. They're easy. Okay. What are you binge watching right now, if anything?
Ooh, so I binge watched The Bachelor and all associated shows with The Bachelor.
Yeah, that's your thing.
It's our guilty pleasure. My friends and I have a Bachelor night every Monday, so we've recently transitioned to Zoom.
There you go.
Oh, that's good. Well, it sounds like you need a show like that with the job you have.
Well, that's it. You got to escape a little reality there and have just some sheer entertainment.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. All right. How many hours of sleep do you need?
I think I need 8. I'm not sure if I get 8, but
yeah. What do you usually get? Like 6 or?
I think probably around 6 usually.
Yeah. That's pretty tight. I don't think I could run off that for
6.
too long. Oh, man. Okay. Are you a good cook?
No. My husband, when we're together, he won't even let me make the coffee, which I don't hate because I don't love cooking, but he's also way better than me at cooking.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. Well, good for you.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
Yeah, put that in the win column for sure.
Yeah.
All right. What is the scariest thing you've ever done that you can tell us about?
So I think the scariest thing, when I was at the Air Force Academy, it's called jump, and you get your jump wings. You jump by yourself, so it's not like a static line.
Oh.
And so your first jump in the program is just by yourself.
Oh my gosh. Where are you jumping from? Are you jumping from?
An airplane.
Yeah, an airplane. Yeah.
So you get about something like 30 hours of ground training, and then they're just like, okay. I think I was a little hesitant to kind of jump the first time. I was hanging onto the wing a little bit, and then my instructor just gave me a little love nudge, we'll call it.
It's like, I like being a pilot in a plane or a helicopter, not outside of it, right?
Exactly.
I don't want to be jumping.
It was fun though. It was cool.
It's probably
better. It was definitely terrifying.
Oh, I bet. It was probably better to jump than to hang onto the wing for the next.
It was the right choice to just push me out of the plane.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, how cool are you?
How cool. I am a huge nerd, so I'd probably say 6. I'm just a giant nerd.
No,
that's not bad.
Not true at all. Not true at all. But
okay, that's so funny. Okay, what talent do you wish you had?
Ooh, what talent? I wish that I was good at learning languages. I don't know if that's a talent you can say.
Yeah, it's definitely a talent.
I think learning languages is a talent, and I love traveling. So I wish I could kind of pick up a language quickly and just go somewhere.
I bet.
Wouldn't that be great?
If you had to choose one, which one would it be?
Yeah.
Which language?
Yeah.
I would say Italian.
Yeah.
Our wedding was in Italy, and we just went. We wanted a kind of a family vacation, so we went with just our 10 and close friends and family, and we just fell in love with the country so much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard not to. It's Italy, but
I know. Absolutely.
I would love to go back there.
It sounds amazing, Sarah. It really does.
Absolutely. All right. Favorite day of the week?
Favorite day of the week? I would say, this is again going to sound nerdy, but I would say Thursday, because that's when we do a lot of desert flying on Thursdays. So those are my favorite flights. So I would say Thursday, and then who doesn't love that the next day is Friday?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
So if you fly late, then you have to come into work late, and then you only have half a day on Friday.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Makes total sense.
Inside tip.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. If you could eliminate something from your daily routine, what would it be?
Ooh, if I could eliminate anything from my daily routine, this is tricky. I guess in my second and third cup of coffee, because I should probably be less dependent on that.
Second and third's not bad. It'd be like 7th, 8th, 9th.
Fair.
I think you're all right on that one.
I think actually I might say pre-flighting the aircraft, because I don't, you have to walk around the aircraft and pre-flight it and get it started before you go fly. But I just want to jump in the aircraft and go flying.
Do the flying. That's the fun part.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
That makes total sense too.
Okay. What do you like on your pizza?
Black olives and pepperoni all day, every day.
Okay, there you go. She didn't hesitate. So that's
no hesitation.
Yeah. Okay, last question. See how easy you're doing this.
Okay.
Killing it, Sarah. You're killing it.
All right. Which genre do you like best? Rom-com, horror, drama, or comedy?
I would have to say drama. I'm a big Shonda fan. So Grey's Anatomy, How to Get Away with Murder, all those, all the above. I'm a big Shonda fan.
Shonda Rhimes,
so, I gotta love her.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, she does some good stuff. All right, you did it.
Oh, good job.
Okay.
Well, Sarah, thanks so much for sharing all of your great knowledge and what it takes to get into the U.S. Naval Academy and what it takes to get through it. So kudos to you, and thanks so much for coming on and sharing with our listeners. I know it's going to help some young people out there that are thinking about this. So thank you so much.
Of course, and thanks so much for having me. And I guess if anybody who was listening has any questions, feel free to find me on Facebook or reach out, because I'm always happy to help anybody answer questions about the Naval Academy.
Wow,
that's really generous. Thank you so much.
So nice.
Of course.
Yeah. So, and I learned so much today, Sarah. It was really interesting to hear about the Naval Academy and about your job. And it's not something that we all are privy to. So thanks for the inside scoop.
We should definitely say thank you for your service. And
absolutely.
And we're really proud of you too.
Well, I appreciate all the support.
All right. Well, hey, have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Oh my goodness, I enjoyed that interview so much. Sarah is such a treasure, and we're so lucky to have her representing us in the U.S. And what an accomplished young woman. Amazing.
Yes, she definitely does credit to herself and the military. She's just who you want representing our country.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on, Sarah. And we also want to invite you all to please subscribe and rate and review our podcast. It really helps us out a lot. Subscribing is free. In case you think it costs money, it doesn't. Just a click of
not a penny,
just a click of a button, and it really helps us a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks everybody for listening today, and especially a big thank you to you, Sarah, for coming on and sharing all your knowledge.
Yes, thanks, Sarah.
So have a great day, everybody.
Yeah, have a great day.
And this has been an Academic and Career Advising Services production.